everyone, welcome to prompt number 37. I completed the high five ant. So let's see what we've got. Dandelion and earthworm. That might be fun. Let's get into it. So with the prompts dandelion and earthworm, I wasn't feeling particularly inspired by anything super out of the ordinary. The first thing that came to my head was a girl playing around with someone by holding a earthworm and chasing after them with it. I thought this would be a good chance to get a lot of action and motion into a pose and into a drawing, and having someone absolutely fear for their life being chased with an earthworm. I think we've all been there as a kid, someone chasing after you with something you really don't like and you fear for your life in that moment. And I drew a boy because I'm trying to get myself to draw more male characters. I wasn't really feeling that sketch so much, so I moved on to another. My second idea was a little more obvious, I suppose. Being an earthworm, I thought about doing a fishing scene. So I thought about a little girl fishing with either her dad or her grandpa, and she's pulling up this fish super surprised, and the grandpa is just sitting there chill, and he's just like, yeah, let me grab that fish out of the air for you, cause I'm cool. I've been fishing for a while. I know what I'm doing. So the little girl is just so impressed by what just happened, and the dad is chill. Or grandpa. I can't decide which one it is. I'm gonna go with dad. He looks pretty young. This is also the last prompt image before fall, because this Friday is actually the first day of fall. So I made this image to be quite summery. It's got a bright sky, the bright green grass, and everything about it is just very summery feeling. Not to say that you can't draw summer images in the fall, but I thought this was a nice chance to have one last summery image before things start to get cool and we all start drawing witches, especially with Inktober coming up. So I was pretty excited to play around with water because it's not something I draw super often, and I feel like watercolor is the perfect medium to play around with water effects. It's so easy to do a lot of layers and do a lot of different textures, and it just looks really nice, I think, to play around with how light it gets, and it's just very easy to make that gradient get darker and play around with different strokes that look like waves. And it's just a lot of fun. I feel like it's really hard to mess up water when you're just kind of playing around with it, and it's fun to experiment. Oh, speaking of water, I really enjoyed playing around with the splash of water where the fish is coming out. I've talked about how I like to break these borders that I create in my illustrations and having this interest of something coming out of it. I've done that with the fishing pole at the top and at the bottom where the fish is coming out. It was actually quite a last-minute decision to do that. It wasn't something that I thought of right away, but after I had drawn her pulling the fish up and I didn't have any water or anything trailing off from the fish, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to have something breaking the barrier and popping out from the bottom of the page. I think it's just really fun to show a border, but then also show that there is something outside of that border and there is more to this image than what you're looking at. Something else with the water that I was really looking forward to playing around with when coloring this image was how the poles and the man's legs interact with the water. Like I mentioned before, it's just so much fun to play around with the transparency of watercolor and making something look like it's actually going deep into the water. By watering down the color and making it kind of jagged as it goes into the water because the image is distorted by the waves, it really gives the illusion that something's actually underwater. And I think it's just a really cool effect that is fun to play around with watercolor and something that I really struggled with when doing digital art. Not that it's impossible, but I find it so much easier and fun to play around with things like this and the effects with traditional art when it comes to the transparency of your materials. And I am just rambling about this. Let's talk about a personal story that is connected to this illustration. Do you want to hear about that? I don't know what you're saying, so let's just talk about it. When I was a kid, my dad had this friend that he would go fishing with, and often he took my sister and I with him. And so I guess I have a little bit of experience fishing, but it's been like 20 years since I last went fishing, properly anyways. So I guess the main reason why I wanted to draw a little girl with her dad rather than a little boy and his dad was because this is a experience I can kind of draw from my life. Oh, draw from my life. Kill me. I mentioned before that I want to draw more male characters, and it would have been cute to have a father and his son go fishing, but why not have a father-daughter go fishing? It's something that I can draw from my personal life, I can relate to it with a personal story, and it feels really nostalgic to me to look at this image, and it really brings back those memories, I think. Ah yes, I can just smell those fish guts now. Makes me want to do it again. Except not. And that's it for another prompt, and that is it for summer. I hope you guys enjoyed your summer. I know a lot of you are back in school, so have fun with that. Let me know in the comments, do you go fishing, or do you have any experience with fishing? Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!